If you haven't had an opportunity to watch Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 1, Episode 2, Bait, stop listening now, major spoilers, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, another 10 out of 10 star episode. Ash vs. Evil Dead is here to stay. If you are a Deadite, if you are a fan of Evil Dead, any of the Evil Dead franchise, movies, comic books, video games, whatever, you're gonna love this episode, man. There's so much blood, so much gore. It's epic, man. Okay, so this season premiere introduced us to a couple of new characters that are going to be hanging out with Ashley Williams, aka, Ash from the Evil Dead. And we get introduced to Kelly Maxwell, and we get introduced to the Pablo. And Kelly has a family, so obviously, she has a mother and a father. Her mother was assumed to be dead because we find out in this episode that her mother had killed herself. She drove her car off of a bridge and killed herself, okay? She either drowned and the body wasn't found, etc. So Kelly comes with a lot of baggage. Her father is on the cell phone with Kelly in episode 1, and all of a sudden, her father says that her mother's back, or someone that resembles her mother. She points the FaceTime iPhone towards the door, and there's this lady. That turns out to be Kelly's mother, and it was fascinating, man. Her name is Susie Maxwell, played by Mimi Rogers. It was, to see her in a role like this, it blew me away, man. I won't even lie. It literally, it literally blew me away because you're just not used to seeing her in a role like that, man. And I liked it, though. I really did. I thought it was really, really cool, man. The last time I think I saw her in anything that I remember was Austin Powers. And then I think maybe the Wedding Ringer, man. That was about it. But I guess she hasn't been on any of my radar as far as any television shows. But in this one, she kills it, man. It is scary as hell. Like, 2 moments will have you, like, jumping away from the screen because there's a lot of lightning in this episode, man. And that's what I really love. As soon as you hear the lightning crackle, all of a sudden, man, like, something pops up at the screen. And it'll get you jumping, man. This one was strictly comedy. There was a little bit of, how do you want to say it, the horror aspect, but most of it was just showing you, like, I guess, how much diversity they have inside of the genre of Ash vs. Evil Dead. It's comedy, it's horror, it's anything that you can, kind of imagine, man, drama, all that stuff. But what was, special about this show, and it was written by, Ivan, Sam, and one more credit, I gotta figure out who that is when I get opportunity. I probably won't end up doing it, but I'll try to remember at the end of this episode. But what you end up having is just this really, really well balanced mix of comedy in this episode, man, and you will laugh. For Bruce Campbell to deliver every single line the way that he does, it's magical, man. My question is, how many takes does it take for Bruce Campbell to do this? That's what I would like them to know. Inside of this episode, they had this, at the end of it, they had this inside Ash vs. Evil Dead, and it was pretty fascinating because they were talking about how much blood and how much gore and how much guts was inside of this. The blood that was pumping out the guy from the store that Kelly and Pablo worked at, he, I think his name was Mr. Roper or something like that. I don't know if that was him or not, but I'm almost positive that was him. There was so much blood coming out of his neck that Bruce Campbell had problems and issues, man, getting the blood out of his eyes and getting the blood out of his throat. He was actually gagging because there was so much blood going down his throat inside of that scene. I thought that was fascinating, man. Okay, so here's what the episode was about. Kelly, she takes off at the end of the pilot episode, and she's heading to go see her mom and her dad. Bruce Campbell believes that the Deadite is her mother, and Pablo doesn't believe that. In order to get Ash to go and chase after Kelly, because Pablo loves Kelly, he really likes her, I think he probably wants to date her or something like that, and Ash just wants to bone her, Pablo takes the book, the Book of the Dead, and what ends up happening is that Pablo tells Bruce, or Ash, Pablo tells Ash that Kelly took the book, and we must go to Kelly's house in order to retrieve it. When they get there, we get introduced, man, to Susie Maxwell, Kelly's mom, who's played by Mimi Rogers, and she just looks normal. She looks like a normal person. The one thing that was a kind of like a dead giveaway, man, was like there was this fly. First, there was one fly that was buzzing around her face, and Bruce Campbell is looking at her like, what kind of game are you playing here? When are you going to reveal yourself? He just keeps egging her on. It's pretty fascinating because the mom was like, look, everything's fine. I just lost my memory. I just woke up and then I came back to the house, and I remembered, that you liked roast beef or something like that. She was telling Kelly. So they all sit down after Susie invites Ash and Pablo over to eat, some dinner. Pablo and Ash, they bust into the house so hilariously, man. I'm telling you. Bruce Campbell kicks down the door. He has a chainsaw hand going. Pablo has this bottle opener thing, and I'll get to that in a second. Why he has this broken bottle. And they break into the house, screaming like, "Where's Kelly at? Release her," or whatever. And everything's just normal. So let me back up. At the end of the first pilot episode, there was this store manager that got introduced to the Deadite spirit, whatever you want to call it, the Evil Dead. That whole spirit thing that kind of floats across the screen, really, really spookily And that guy shows up at Bruce Campbell's trailer park area, and he was about to attack him at the trailer park, but then I think that he either sensed that Pablo had the book, so he didn't attack him there, or it was just, he wanted to wait until, it was a good time. So anyway, he attacks Pablo and Ash on the highway as they're heading towards Kelly's house. It leads to this epic, really, really epic. The last time that I saw a really good car fight scene was on Banshee. Ash vs. Evil Dead destroyed that scene. It was perfect. It was done really, really awesome. And I know you can't compare Banshee and Ash vs. Evil Dead, but I'm talking about just as far as how they deliver the car scene. There wasn't too much CGI. Everything's practical inside of Ash vs. Evil Dead. That's why I love it so much, man. But Bruce Campbell, man, he's having problems fighting off Mr. Roper. And what ends up happening is that Pablo he's asking Ash, how do you do it? What gives you the courage or whatever? He says, once you get hit in the face by a Deadite, everything changes. And then, it'll turn you to the hero that you are. And he ends up getting hit in the face, and Pablo doesn't respond the way that he normally does. And then Ash yells out, he's like, "Pablo, do something." And then Pablo, Ash drinks and drives, so he has all these beer bottles on the bottom floor of his car. And Pablo reaches down, he grabs this beer bottle, he breaks it over Mr. Roper's head, and then after that, Mr. Roper, man, grabs Pablo's head, slams it against the dashboard, and then there's a broken bottle left over. Ash grabs that broken bottle, grabs Mr. Roper by the head, and then stabs him in the neck. He stabs him probably, I'd say 60 to 70 times in the neck, man. There's so much blood pouring down on Ash. He's covered in blood. And then after that, whenever Pablo and Kelly Pablo and Ash arrive to Kelly's house, they're covered in blood. And the mother, who, just came out of the dead or whatever, and the father are like, who are these guys? Are they your friends? Kelly's dad, who's literally his name is Kelly's dad, played by Phil Pleaton. And he says, take whatever you want, just don't touch my family or something like that. Because he thinks that they're intruders or whatever. And then after that, Kelly, tells her parents, who they are. They sit down and they start eating dinner. And then Ash still doesn't believe that Kelly's mom is really Susie. He thinks that she's a Deadite. So Ash, keeps, ragging her on and egging her on and trying to get her to react. She doesn't react, man. So Ash just straight cold cocks her, man. Punches her right in the face. She falls on the ground. Kelly runs over to Ash. She's like, "What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you doing this?" Ash is like, "Listen, he's like, trust me, this is not what you think it is, and he feels pretty bad because the girl, Susie, the mom, she's still not reacting. She's still just laying on the floor. The dad runs over. He's like, "Baby, are you okay? Are you okay, sweetheart?" She's still not saying nothing. And then after that, the dad and Ash and Kelly and Pablo, they all start, arguing and trying to tell Ash to stop doing what he's doing or whatever. All of a sudden, man, the mother rises up from the ground. She's dead now. She's a Deadite. You can see it in her face. The eyes are white. The skin is pasty. There's wrinkles all over. All of a sudden, man, she turns around, and then the husband, Kelly's dad, looks at Susie. He's like, "Baby, are you okay?" He walks over, puts his hand towards her face. She grabs his head, slams it on the table after she grabs this fork, and then slams his eye into the fork. Okay, so his eye in the fork meet, there's blood everywhere. The dad dies, he falls on the ground, he dies, and then after that, all hell breaks loose. Ash gets out the chainsaw, and the shotgun starts shooting and trying to, saw the woman down. Susie ends up taking, like this, I don't know how to, like an escape plan, takes off running or whatever, and then she ends up inside of Kelly's room. Kelly goes upstairs, closes her door, she's crying, she's hysterical, because her dad's dead now, she doesn't know what the hell's going on. Ash, breaks into the room, after Kelly's mom is, sitting in there singing this lullaby. Kelly's walking over to her mother actually embraces her, and then after that, whenever Ash breaks in, and he's like, Kelly, step away from her, she's not your mom, then after that, we get to see the reveal again, and then Kelly sees that her mother's really not who she says she is. Long story short, Ash grabs Kelly's mom, after, Pablo and Kelly yell again to Bruce. They say, save me, Ash, save me, Ash, help me. For some reason, that's the second time that we've seen that, to where someone in danger has to tell Ash to help them, and then Ash gets this like superpower, and he had his chainsaw stuck inside of the how do you want to say it, the frame of the door. He rips it out, grabs he rips it out, punches through Susie's stomach, and chainsaw punches through Susie's stomach, kills her. Then after that, he decapitates her, and then after that, they bury the mother and father, and then the next thing that they say is it's time to get this this book translated so we can put things back to normal. So they're going to be heading to a location that is very familiar, I think, to certain Walking Dead. I keep saying Walking Dead, certain Evil Dead fans, and I think that a lot of people will obviously recognize it. I mean, I think I recognized it, or at least the name, because of I guess how long I've been watching this, or how long I've been inside of the Evil Dead franchise, man. Before we get to that location, before I reveal the name, there was this presence that was at the farm at the end, and it made this windmill start turning. I think that is the dead, okay? And I'm almost positive, man. But they're heading to this location called Books from Beyond, and right now, the lady, Amanda Fisher, who's played by Jill Jones, she's actually at that place right now, and we'll see what happens next week, man. That's it, guys. We're out of time. I would go in more detail on more stuff, but that's okay, man. We'll talk about it maybe another time. This runtime for this thing was like less than 25 minutes, I say right around 25 to 26 minutes, 30 minutes total with the extra special features. Lucy Lawless wasn't inside of this episode, but she was in the flashback. I guess we'll see her next week, and from what I can see on the previews, it looks like it's going to be next week when we actually run back into her. That's it, guys. Comment, like, subscribe, share this video, and there will be reactions, man. Look for the Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 1, Episode 2 bait reactions. That's what the video will be called, and enjoy it, man. Share it, like it, do all that good stuff. Right there.